Mr. Roy Davila.
Roy is a beast at what he does. I've watched him grow and evolve. He's worked at some amazing organizations like Lithia, which is a huge dealer group, and to be one of the top GSMs for a company that level is surreal. You've been at Mike Shaw, you've been with Eric Barbosa. Again, you've just been collecting experiences. But tell us, how did you get into the automotive industry and how did you fall in love with the industry?
So first of all, man, like everybody said already, I've met so many talented individuals here, salespeople, managers, it doesn't matter what your department is. Real quick, can you guys give yourselves a round of applause for even coming to something like this? A lot of you guys, out of your own pocket, you came. Some of you guys don't get the support. Lean on tribes like this, because without this, I wouldn't be here. A lot of us wouldn't be here. We wouldn't have these stages. We wouldn't have the ability to pour into you guys. And just as much as we pour into you doing this, you guys pour back into us. I've had so many conversations with you guys that I love. And I wish that I would have had something like this when I first started. I started selling cars very young, right? Like I got into the game when I was like 19. Very much like Sean, before the car business, Roy wasn't the greatest person, right? Like there's a lot of things, a lot of bumps and mistakes that were made, but I had a kid very young, and I figured out I needed to change. Something needed to change, and it taught me one of my first lessons, right? Nothing changes if nothing changes. If I keep doing the same things over and over, I'm gonna get the same results. So, a cousin of mine got into the car business, and his general manager did the usual thing. I need to replicate you, right? Can we clone you? And he said, I'll do you one better. I'll get you the guy that taught me how to sell. So my phone rings, they show up. I'm working at a supplement store, and the general manager wants me to jump on, and I'm fighting it. My dad sold cars, my grandfather sold cars. I heard the nightmare stories. Nobody wanted me to do this business. So they followed me. The follow-up was incredible, by the way, right? These guys, if there was call, text, email, they'd have been doing all that and sending me videos. They showed up to my store, and finally, they brought me a paycheck stub. And they said, look, this is what he's making. It was like $8,000. That was the day I was like, okay, I'm done. I'm in. If he can do that, just wait what I can do, right? So I jumped onto this Toyota store, and I sold cars for 11 months. I was never the top volume guy. I was always in the mix, but my grosses were extremely healthy. And what I figured out was I knew how to connect with people. I knew how to solve problems. I knew how to find out what you were looking for, what were your dominant buying motives, and how can I find a solution that helps you and me, right? I looked at my time like a doctor or like a lawyer. I figured if you were gonna sit in that chair across from me, I did enough research, I gave you an amazing experience that I was gonna charge you by the hour, right? And my fee was something that was very important to me. So I got involved, I fell in love with it, and before you know it, and I worked at a store where the average tenure was probably about 6 years, meaning everybody there had been selling cars for a long time. I was brand new into the game. So 9 months into it, all of a sudden, I'm holding training classes. The veterans are circling me around and going, all right, kid, what are you doing? Because you're making money and we're not, right? Teach us what it is. So all of a sudden, I'm teaching the classes. I'm showing them how to negotiate. I'm showing them my fact finding. I'm taking the lead, and it became something that my general manager saw very quickly, and so he put me on a fast track. And not to dive too deep, but guys, there are, and ladies, there's so many people in your store that are resilient that you have no idea about. We were in an open point Toyota store. I was the only person that was only allowed to sell new. Then I had to figure out how to sell used. Then they put me in the internet department, and I couldn't take ups. Then when I got good at that, they said, okay, Roy, here's this kiosk in service. No ups, no leads, no nothing. You've got to sell just from service. Figure it out. FitFo, right? And we figured it out. But little did I know, I kept looking at my GM like, man, do you not like me? Are you mad at me? What's going on? But I created these processes, and I created these things that now I could go teach others. And that was his whole game plan the entire time. If it works for him, we're going to document it, and then we're going to go implement it with everybody else. So we created the vehicle exchange program back in like 2011. We created all of these internet processes. We created so many templates and training things that allowed me, once I jumped into management, to go create more Roys, if you will, right? So that's how I got started.
When did you fall in love with the industry?
Oh man, early, very early. I'd love to say it was the first paycheck. It really wasn't. It was a service customer. I'll never forget his name, Rogelio Garza. I went and met him in service. The service department wasn't taking care of him. He was upset. He didn't have the money to pay for a service bill. And I just remember being, okay, I want to help this guy because he reminds me of my grandfather. He reminds me of something. And I come from a small town in South Texas, so everybody's related to everybody, right? And so this guy's like, I know your grandparents, I know your mom, I know your uncle. And I'm like, Jesus, now I got to help this guy for real. So I remember taking it to a manager of mine, and we all had that one manager that made a difference. You know, this guy Leo said, all right, Roy, let's put something together. Let me help you. He put way too much money into the guy's trade, right? We helped him get out. We got the payment the same. And this guy and his family fell in love with it. And he sent me everybody he knew from his church. He worked for the school district. So everybody from the school district. And I fell in love because of the ability to help this gentleman who looked like it was done, right? He wasn't going to have his vehicle anymore. He still had to make payments on it. There was no warranties. I was able to help him get out of that situation, get into something better. And he took care of me for doing it. So I remember that month, I think I sold it was my third or fourth month in the business. I sold 18 and a half cars. 12 of them were referrals from this guy.
Yo, strong. I wanted this conversation to be about sales management, but I want to take a slight detour because, folks, look, you have to just keep it real with the next statement I'm about to say. You could tell from our audience the caliber of people like Deep Hen. There's been a couple people in here that have been very vocal the whole time, and D's one of them. Roy's been one of them since day one, participating, asking questions, doing the pitches, doing this and that. Do you think this is by accident? Okay, Roy, from what I know, how many Internet Sales 200 conferences have you been to?
5.
5 IS20Gs. How many NAMADs have you been to?
None yet.
Not yet. You're working on that one.
Yes.
All right?
Yes,
Minority
yes.
conferences. How many digital deals have you been to?
Oh, more than I can count.
Okay. How many NADAs have you been to?
Probably about 10.
Okay. And how often are you listening to the Millionaire Car Salesman podcast?
Daily.
Okay. How was it like over a year and a half we were doing the clubhouse room?
Yep.
Okay, 7 o'clock in the morning for hours, we're pouring into stuff. How many audiobooks, how many books are you reading on personal development, professional development, skill stuff?
I've got 4 of them in my backpack alone.
Okay, how many people do you network with in the automotive industry from the dealer level, the vendor level, the salesperson, the manager level?
Over 6,000.
Okay, so I'm not bullshitting you. This is not by accident. This is developed. Do you think Andre Petrosky just got out of bed after smoking a bong and going into the cage? No, he does not. Okay? He is a Division I professional athlete that goes in and he jokes around, he's like, I don't know about much, I know how to put a motherfucker to sleep. That's what his life is. You know what I mean? But he surrounds himself with those professional people. Roy, I've had so many people say, God damn, who is this guy? I'm like, go find out. How many people have tried to recruit you here or have recruited you right now?
I'm blessed. Let me just say I'm blessed.
It's not by accident, but you can have these people at your dealership if you encourage this stuff. My clients get frustrated because I'm always talking about the Facebook group. I'm talking about the podcast. I'm talking about Bradley and Man. I'm talking about this. So there's a question here. The question is, now that we set the stage for it, how important is it for a manager to encourage the diversity of knowledge, information, connectivity, and things like this?
So let me put it to you this way. If I were to show up in your market, I don't have to be from there. I don't have to be in your area. I'm from South Texas, from a little town, right? If I've gone to New Mexico, I've gone to all over the country. If I spend a week in your market, I will recruit your people. Your people will come to talk to me about selling cars for me without thinking about a pay plan, without thinking about positions, without thinking about any of that, because I am willing to pour into them no matter where they are, what they're doing, or who they work for. My circle of influence grows everywhere I go because I am not afraid to put myself out there. Social media is one of the biggest tools, and you hear us talk about it all the time, but as a leader, my job, not only from a customer standpoint, and I wanted to make this point today, we get so caught up in this theory that, okay, in the absence of value, price is important, right? We talk about the customer experience, we talk about the customer journey, which is very important. But I think the one journey we don't spend enough time talking about is the employee experience. So I want you to think about this. In the absence of purpose, what's important to your people? Money and positions. And the problem with that is the next guy or girl can give them even more. So if my people are simply motivated by money and positions, all it takes my competitor to do is have an opening I don't have or pay them a little bit more than what I pay them. But if I can get them behind purpose, their purpose, our purpose, if I can get them to wear the jersey of whatever my dealership is and tattoo it on them and go for it. Let's say your goal's 300 cars. Is Bob worried about his 15 or is he worried about your 300? And how likely is Bob to hit his 15 and coast? Or if he's more concerned about that 300, I'm going to hit my 15, but I see, damn, we're 30 units away. Let me keep running, right? Now Bob's gone from 15 to 20 to 25 to 30. He's Cody Carter now because he's bought into what you're trying to do, not just his goal. And I think that starts with your presence, your purpose, being intentional. Don't just encourage it, do it. One of the things I love about social, and I learned this from Sean and the group, I am so in tune and ingrained in it that when I ask you to do something, it's very easy because here's a blueprint, look at mine. I ask my people to do a couple of things a day, right? Quarter times are one of my staples. I check in with my people at 11, 2, 4, and 6. I want to know productivity. It's a quick check. It's not a gripe session. But what I want to know is, here's this, I call it the recipe. 25 calls, 25 emails, 25 texts, 5 social posts, 3 personal videos, 2 appointments a day will sell you 8 cars. If you can do that, I'll help you get from 8 to 10 to 12 to 15. If you can follow my recipe, you will be successful. But here's the thing, I'm doing it too. You'll never be able to look at me and say, Roy, you're telling me to do something that you've never done, you can't do, it's impossible. There's no excuses.
Yeah, that's fire. Y'all need to give it up for that. That was absolutely phenomenal. Real quick, I'm just going to lay out a reference. There's a book called The Customer Comes Second, and that's exactly what they're talking about, right? A lot of people don't like that title, The Customer Comes Second, because the customer comes first. Well, this is exactly what it's talking about. Giving your people a purpose, understanding that people is where everything starts. That's the one thing that you cannot duplicate. No, your competitor can't duplicate your people. They can duplicate your processes, they can duplicate your products, they can even duplicate your promotions, but they cannot duplicate your people. So why not pour into what, Roy?
Your people.
That's it.
So let's transition here. That I'm so excited to talk about this. I have a gripe. I have a disappointment. It's called sales management. I don't know what the hell happened to our industry where you get promoted to sales management and then you lose your damn mind. You stop training. You stop, doing the things that you're telling your people to do. And me and Roy have talked about this online, on Clubhouse, and all sorts of stuff. So I want you to hear it from one of the best GSMs in the country, GMs in the country as well. So Roy, am I off, or do you feel that there's a disconnect with sales management and the reality in 2024?
The real pandemic wasn't COVID. The pandemic is what happened with our leadership and our sales teams. And if you're upset at it, if you're upset because your sales team is lazy, if you're upset because they're not achieving, if you're upset because they're fine with good enough, look in the mirror. They are an example of who you are. They are an exact reflection of their leadership teams. And, one of the things that I love, I have been to a couple different places. I've been a part of a couple buy sells. I've been a part of some growing teams. And one of my biggest accomplishments, I have an army of people that are ready to jump with me at any point. But when I go take over a new store, that's not what I do. I take care of the people that are currently there. 2 reasons. They deserve an opportunity. And for my personal gain, I want to show it wasn't the people, it was the leadership. Put the right people in charge and you can make anybody great, right? So when I'm growing leaders and I'm grooming them, what I tell them is this: as you get promoted, you don't shed responsibilities, you gain. And too many times our mindset as leaders is, I've made it, I arrived, I don't have to do X, Y, Z. I don't have to pick up the phone. I don't have to send videos. I don't have to make calls. I don't have to work service.
I don't have to train.
I don't have to train.
I don't have to use a CRM.
I don't have to answer leads. I don't need to look at them. That's the internet manager's job. When in reality, it should be what got you to the dance is what's going to keep you there, right? I was great at phone calls. I was great at follow-up. I was great at social. So why stop there? Continue to do it. My managers should be responsible for calls, text, emails, social, videos, and appointments. Just like my salespeople. Be great, continue to be great, and don't let laziness set in. I have one fear: if you're not growing, you're dying. So if we're not growing, that's my fault, And I need to push my leaders to be better leaders and engage with my people so that when they get promoted, those habits continue. They don't get this pandemic of laziness.
So, as a trainer, one of the things that's frustrating to me is that when we engage with the dealer principal, the general manager, or the corporate executive from the dealer group, and they bring us in, they cut a large check, because we're not cheap, and they're all about it, and then things start to happen. And the challenge is that I hear, oh, my people don't want to do this, or my people, I'm talking about like train, like log into Browser Demand, or they don't want to do the work as a point guard. They don't, and to me, this is a management issue, not a salesperson issue or a BDC issue. You know, I mean, this is an accountability issue. I think that I don't know how you could run a multi-million-dollar business and allow the frontline people to make decisions that could be catastrophic to the organization. At the very least, it's going to compromise the investment. How do you have a dealer principal or GM say, hey, I want this, we need this, we believe in this, let me cut this check, and then have employees just not do it? To me, you can't blame the BDC rep. I can't blame my 10-year-old son, Xander, true story, that wants to stay up on a school night to midnight playing Madden with his friends. I'm like, little man, what are you doing? He's like, you got me. I mean, that's his job, is to try to be a kid and have fun. My job as a parent is to make sure that he's not exhausted or he's, cracked out on sugar when he's going to school. I mean, it's our job as managers to manage and guide. And I love what you said, guide by example. So what is your advice to dealers here, how they could encourage, because as a GSM, your job is to train sales managers. So I'd like you to train the managers here on what should they be doing at their dealerships and how should they be, managing their people to get the activities they need to get done.
So I learned this, once again, I'll give you guys credit and your amazing partner. I love doing her roundtable every time because I learn something different from the 7 habits, right? And I think about a few things. We had this conversation at one of the tables yesterday. If I'm going to implement something or I'm going to do something, I always start with the end in mind, right? What do I hope to accomplish from this? The second thing that I look at is, what are the obstacles that are going to start? Like if I do want to implement Bradley on demand, right? Why do I want to do it? Well, I want my people to get better on the phones. I want them to get better at answering leads. Okay, great. What are the obstacles I'm going to run into trying to implement this? People aren't going to want to do it. People aren't going to want to log in. They might phase through it and then stop. Okay, who do I need to prep and what do I need to do to prep to ensure that number 2 doesn't happen? That means that I need to get with my leadership teams and I need to have a plan in place. To me, it's very simple. Nelson said it earlier, right? At some places, it's just part of your jobs. If you've worked for me, you've heard me say this before. If you work at McDonald's and you forget to salt the fries, guess what? You're not on fries anymore. You're cleaning bathrooms. And if you don't do a good job with that, then guess what? We promote you to customer, right? At our stores, it's just part of the job. And it's not, I'm not yelling, I'm not screaming, I'm not MFing. It's an expectation. But clarity is huge. So when we do something, we start with the end in mind. I know what obstacles are going to be there, and I know who I have to prepare so that those obstacles don't stop us. We have a very real conversation. You want to work for me, this is what's expected. But if you do this, this is what you get from me. You're going to get support, you're going to get training, and I'm going to help you be successful. One of my favorite stores I ever ran was Mike Shaw Kia. Very fortunate, we grew that store from under 100 cars up to 300 pretty quick, right? We did all this during the pandemic. We became the number 5 CPO store in the nation. My proudest moment is that I had a staff of people that did not sell less than 12 cars. Everybody was at 15 or higher. I had multiple 20-car people that had never touched that in their life and weren't car people. And it's because we did not shake on our foundation. It was that important. There is no not showing up for a quarter time. There is no not getting your calls done. There is no not posting X amount of times on social. There's no room or reason for it. And I held my managers to the standard. You have to do it as well. Meet with your people and get it done. Don't shake on your foundation. It's who we are. It's how you build culture. And the second that you compromise, you have no culture anymore. That's not what you do. Now it's just this. And how many stores do you walk into where there's a great idea, it happens for a week, and then it stops? It's that follow-up. It takes 21 days to develop a habit. Can you be strict, stern, and disciplined for 21 days to get the job done. How important is growth to you? Because if that dealer tells you it is, then I don't care if Bobby's been working for me for 20 years and he sells 50 cars a month. If Bobby's not willing to get in line with the program and can't buy into the purpose, Bobby might have to go.
Yeah. It's a little longer than 21 days nowadays, but that's what Glenn was talking about the other day, where it takes 67 days to make something easier to do than not to do, right? So it gets longer and longer, and it's so crazy because even in the Bible do stuff for 40 days and 40 nights, right? Mm-hmm. Our cells refresh themselves. It's kind of deep. I ain't going to go all in. Y'all got it.
Let this just marinate for a second here. Just let the information kind of simmer for a second. Roy, to me, a manager's job description should be to identify all of the resources that their team's going to need, provide those resources, making sure those resources were set up correctly, they were trained correctly, they understand. They're also there to help identify, challenges that are going to happen, beforehand. That way they could counterbalance them, they could help them. A manager's job is to take each individual person and help them unlock their maximum potential. Not everybody has equal strengths and weaknesses. So a manager needs to identify their SWOT, their strengths, their weaknesses, their opportunities, their threats, their challenges. A manager should be doing at least minimum weekly one-on-ones, okay? And it's not just about skill paths. Sometimes it's emotional. Sometimes it's somebody going through a divorce. Sometimes it's, a sickness in the family. It's more than just, can you, handle, I'm just looking. I want you to talk about the importance, because one of the problems that especially new managers have is, I'll just do it myself, because they get frustrated their team might not be perfect. I'll just do it. That doesn't help. Being a leader doesn't mean I just do it myself. So kind of explain a job description in your vision of a sales manager and how they should be going about their day-to-day activities.
The first thing I would say to that is get rid of that title, sales manager. What are you managing really, right? I hate desk manager, I hate sales manager, because it implies that our job is to manage either just the sales process or just manage the deals that get to that desk. Your job really is develop the next leader, right? Like, you should always be worried about who's going to take my position so I can take the next. Who can I train? And not just for that reason, but for the betterment of your store, right? For the betterment of the culture. Too many times these managers right now get so caught up in, I've got the position, I got the title, I've arrived. And I love what you said, because it plagued me for a long time, right? I love to sit up here and say, hey, I've been I've thought this way forever, and this has been my entire career. When in reality, I had a paradigm shift about 5 years ago, thanks to hooking up with Sean, that changed my mindset. And I used to have that. My teams used to know, one of my favorite athletes in the world is Kobe Bryant, right? Everybody loves Kobe. I always had this saying, if our back was against the wall and we needed to perform, I would go Kobe. Everybody's out of the tower. You get out, you get out, you get out, do floor control. I will desk every deal that comes in here. I'll submit them all. I'll go close them. I'm a badass. I got this. Put up 15, 20 cars in a day, high five with my salespeople, flick off my managers and say, see what y'all can't do? I got it done. Then I went and had a day off. What happened? We didn't sell anything, right? So I'll never forget, I'm driving home, I'm working for Lithia, I'm driving home, and I call my top performers, my 5 top guys, and I get them on the phone together, and I say, hey, guys, I'm sorry, man, I failed y'all. And they're like, what do you mean, Roy? I said, I failed you. Why? I said, because I'm not holding your managers as accountable as I'm holding you. You're high performers and high achievers, and I put all the pressure on you, but I let your managers slip. Look at what I did today. I let them they had a day off, and we sold cars, and we made money. What am I doing? I said, I promise you, when I come into work tomorrow, my mind shift is changing, and I'm going to put just as much accountability on your managers that I do on you guys. I'm not going to make it easier for you, but to this day, when I walk into your store, it's not harder for your salespeople, it's harder for your managers. The people that are challenged by my presence are not salespeople. It's the management staff, because those are the ones that I'm going to push to be great, because they're the thermostats, they're not the thermometer. And you're letting your managers be thermometers right now. They are they are letting other things, salespeople, whatever it is, customers control how they react, how they respond. They're not being catalysts for change. And it wasn't until I figured that out and started to literally, and anybody's open to this, if you want my playbook on how I do things, I've given it to 100 people. There is no secret sauce. There's nothing that I say, hey, it's mine, I covet it, it's in the jacket. You only get it if you hire me or you bring me on board. I'll give it to you openly. The problem is execution. Can you hold your people accountable? Can you get your people to rise to this level? And can you do it consistently?
Yo, strong. You guys getting value from this conference? All right, so I'm going to take some questions over here in a second. So if we could get one of our people to get a mic out in the audience. Roy, so let's say you've inspired some people in the audience. What are immediate action plans when they get back to their dealership to really maximize their sales management or management at the dealership?
SOPs, standard operating procedures. Do your people know where you're headed? Do they know why? Like Nelson said, what's the why, right? Why are we doing these things? Is there clarity? Does everybody understand their role in what you're trying to build? Whether that's a unit thing, whether that's a community thing, whether that's a culture thing. Is there clarity? Are you giving your people clarity? Are you giving them purpose? Are you tapping in to who they are and what they want? Sean's absolutely right. I had a conversation with one of my sales ladies the other day, and we approach everybody with this cookie cutter format, right? Like, hey, try hard, do well, you can be a finance manager, then you'll be a sales manager, then you could be me. But not everybody wants that. This young lady I was talking to wants to be a real estate agent. This isn't a forever thing for her. And who am I to say, okay, because that's what you want, get out of my store, I need somebody else. No, what I did is I sat down with her and I said, let's come up with the game plan that gets you what you want, while giving you a skill set you can always fall back on. And if you can be great at this, you're gonna be amazing once you get your license, right? So her purpose is now, I'm tapped into it. Now when I ask her to do something, when I show her how to do something, she's more inclined to buy into it because she knows that I'm bought into her goal, not just my goal. Right? So clarity, standard operating procedures, make sure your people know what they're doing, find your people's purpose and find a way to make it align with yours. And then lastly, accountability is not a bad word. I don't believe there's such thing as micromanagement. I believe that there is me giving you a roadmap to success, and it's my job as a leader to make sure you get there, right? So there's nothing wrong with me checking in, figuring out, are you doing your calls? Are you doing your text? Are you doing your socials? Are you sending your videos? There's nothing wrong with it. It's just a little bit harder to do.
Knowledge bombs, knowledge bombs, knowledge bombs.
Hi, Omari Latif with Oil Motorsport. This question is for Roy. You mentioned earlier in your about at the Kia store you were working at, you took the salespeople from 12 to 15 cars a month. Can you just go over a few of the standard operating agreements and like the processes you had in place at that time, from taking them just from an average salesperson up to like a superstar?
So I'm going to give Sean credit for this one because Sean taught me a long time ago there's 8 avenues or 8 funnels for you to find car deals, right? And to me, we don't pay enough attention to that. So I mix it with my quarter times. My quarter times are meant, a lot of people think that if I put accountability into play, my average performer is going to go from 5 to 8 or 8 to 10. In reality, who you're going to help the most are your high achievers. Because I'm going to play a scenario out for you, and I want you to think about this truly. GMs, GSMs, managers, dealer principals, think about this. If D sold cars for me, and I looked at D's productivity at the end of the day, and I found out today D sold a car, D has 2 appointments set up, one for tomorrow, one for Saturday, and D made 18 phone calls. At the end of the day, is D somebody I need to worry about, or do I think D did a good job? 9 times out of 10, you're going to think D's all right. Let me go focus on the other person that needs it, right? But what if I had my quarter time set up and I figured out by 11 o'clock D sold that car. By 2, D had the 18 calls out, had the 2 appointments set. So from 2 to 8 or 9 or whatever time you close, there was no productivity. Now what I'm doing is I'm letting D, who already sells a shitload of cars, figure out there's more left in the tank. How do I keep pushing you? That's how you get them to that next level. While a rising tide lifts all ships, right? So those accountability measures, the quarter times, the ensuring the activities, and then telling them, hey, you're selling 8 cars, but you're only getting them from fresh ups and phone leads. Why aren't we working service? Why aren't we working referrals? One of my biggest things that I help turn a store around, social media, because it's easy to influence. If I get the machine, and my machine is my Salesforce, if I get my machine behind it, I can turn it quickly, right? And two, like he says, the lost art of prospecting. Prospecting is not dropping cards on windshields. Prospecting is going and saying, hey, Sean, I'm Roy, Team Chevrolet. I have an exclusive employee purchase program for Dealer Synergy. Were you aware of that? No, I wasn't. Well, Dee's actually my coordinator. That's the representative right there. Every employee that you have that needs to buy a car needs to talk to Dee, right? And even better, every employee that does, we're going to get you hooked up with $100 or $200 or whatever the referral program is. That is prospecting, not here's a business card. I'm going to go to the mall, shake hands, and give you a business card. I am trying to actively go solicit business in ways that I don't have to pay for, right? Then my marketing and everything else is just icing on the cake. So if you want to turn them quick, accountability, give them the roadmap, and then encourage, like I said, the social media and encourage the prospecting. That's how you can make an impact and turn a store fast.
All right, Roy. I love all your management strategies here. I'm just on the sales floor at this moment, but I love that your management strategies can be applicable to salespeople so they can manage themselves a little bit better. Can you touch base one more time so that way I can make sure I get it noted on your quarter things that you do? I know I wrote down the 25 calls, the 25 texts, 25 emails. Can you break that down one more time for us?
Yeah, 100%. So 4 times a day, I'm going to check in with my staff on productivity. I never want to manage from behind. I don't want it to be the last hour of the day and us go, holy crap, we didn't sell cars and I don't have appointments for tomorrow. How many times have you seen that? And now we're struggling and we're yelling and we're griping and we're MFing. That's not necessary. Time management is our biggest Achilles heel, and my plan is how do I help my people and my managers with that? So the SOPs change. At first, for about 90 days to 6 months, I'm going to track 25 calls, 25 texts, 25 emails, 5 social media posts, 3 personalized videos, right? That's text message, that's appointment confirmations, whatever the case is, and 2 appointments. Once I get that productivity, then I change the 25 calls to 25 contacts. The KPIs move the habits that I want moved, right? So now we're not just worried about picking up the phone 25 times. Now I'm pushing you to do 25 actual contacts and continue the text messages, continue the emails, continue the Facebook posts. Once that's set and established, if I want more production, I tweak it. Now we go to 10 social media posts. Now we go to 5 videos. Now we go to 5 appointments. And what you're doing is you're holding your people accountable, you're holding yourself accountable, but you're maximizing the time you spend in the store. If you are there 12 hours, in all reality, guys, you only need 8 hours of straight hustle, right? You got 4 hours to Facebook, TikTok, lunch, water cooler. Give me 8 solid and give it to me in that framework. I'll teach you how to sell 12 to 15 cars. If you want to do more, you will be more. That's like your car note. You owe me that by the end of the day, but you can always get more if you want more, right? The only thing that I need from you, deposit that into the account. I promise you're going to stay positive.
I mean, wow. This has been incredible. So thank you so much for all this information. I was actually going to ask about that exact question, so I'm really glad she brought that up to break that down. So with that being said, kind of stealing my thunder there, you said it takes 21 days to develop a habit. So aside from those, I call it, whoa, wow. That's what he says, right? Wow, I got to wrap it up. I'm just kidding. I'm just kidding, LA. I love you. No, so I'm just saying.
What happens is this. Covey had said originally that it takes 21 days to make or break a habit. It depends what company, what analytic stuff. Glenn Lundy said 66 days. Again, Covey, it's way more than freaking 3 weeks. Let's just leave it at that.
Right.
That's what LA was just saying. So
Yes. What would be the habit that you say so for maybe a new manager or a GM or GSM, what is the habit that you, aside from just conditions of employment, right? What is the habit that you have to do daily or weekly, daily to keep you on your toes, keep you sharp, keep you ready to go?
I'm a creature of habit, right? Like habits to me are huge, and I don't mean to get personal or anything like that, right? But I do come from a background in a family that has some issues, like say with alcohol and stuff like that, right? I had to make a conscious choice at a young age that I wasn't going to let that control me, right? So I make a habit, and I live my life in a certain way to where, because of circumstances, I don't go that direction. Because of that, it's allowed me for everything else that I do to be the same. I mean, from the moment I get up, I have the same routine every day, right? Like, you can set a clock to it. I get up, I go brush my teeth, the way that I get dressed, it's sock, pants, shirt, right? It's systematic, right? So the biggest thing that I can say that I do, I have these systems in place for a reason. They're meant to keep me honest. They're meant to keep me real. They're meant to keep me on track. You know what I mean? So those systems and those everything, it's so disciplined, because if I fall off, right? And I don't want that, and it won't happen. So the biggest thing that I work on every day, and I try to teach my people too, is trust the process, trust the systems, have it in place. I think that a half-assed process is better than no process at all. At least you're building and moving towards something. I hope that answered.
So I'm gonna say something that might sound a little bit controversial. That was Gina asking that question, right? So Gina, remember when I told you yesterday, I said write down what you want. Do you know what you want? Yeah. Okay. So we're gonna talk about it right now. You know why you want it? Okay. And then I told you, I said to write down any of the habits, whichever habits are going to move you in that direction, right? Begin to create that rut, because it doesn't matter which habits, as long as you begin to turn it into a rut, right, that you will begin to do automatically. It will push your life in a positive direction. Does that make sense?
Yes.
So it really doesn't even matter. Everybody in here could pick a different habit, something that's going to move your life in a positive direction, and you'd all get to where you want to go, all doing something different. Oof. It's just a matter of how I got to go. Train your subconscious mind. You got to guide that giraffe. You got to train that giraffe, right? You got to calm that crocodile. I mean, for me, I test the crocodile all the time. I force myself to do hard stuff. Man, the team know. Sometimes I'll just be like, I'm just going to the store with no cane, no nothing. Why? Because I want to tell my crocodile, so shut up. You think I can't do it, but I can. I know I can do it. So these are the type of things I just wanted to bring to y'all to attention.
Yo, I appreciate it. Let's close this out.
Okay. All right. Well, listen. I hope that was valuable for everybody here. Can we give it up one more time for my main man, Mr. Roy Davila? Say how?
How to have the biggest, baddest crew. How to make plenty money too. Internet sales, 20 group. Infinite sales just for you. How to have the biggest, baddest crew.
Listen, if you don't have access to Bradley On Demand, you're missing out on crucial information. The top automotive groups like Coons, Lithia, and Norm Reeves have all used Bradley On Demand to train their teams. And guess what? The world's #1 car salesman, Cody Carter, shares his exclusive strategies right here. You want his secrets? You gotta have Bradley On Demand. Stop waiting and start winning. Dominate your market. Click the link and get access now.